So you're an Etsy seller, but you want to think about this like a business. So how do we walk that line between professional and personal? Let's find out. Hey, I'm Pam Duthie, and I've been a seller on Etsy for a decade, and I've made all the mistakes. So I want to be sharing with you the tips and tricks that took my shop from almost closing down from no sales to hundreds of % growth in just a couple of years. So if that's something you're interested in, don't forget, come back every Monday. So a really cool thing about Etsy is it's individuals. It is small artists trying to make a living from their craft rather than massive faceless corporations. But there must be a line between being professional and being personal. So I just want to ask you, how do you draw this line between adding that personal touch but being professional enough? If you just want to let me know in the comments below if this is something you've thought about and if you've got any tips and tricks to help anyone else out. So from the personal point of view, it's very important to connect with your customer as a person. So on a personal level, you want to share with your customer how you are the artist, how you got started, what inspires you, why you do what you do, your studio, what struggles you've overcome, your process. All these things add that personal touch so that your customer knows they're buying from someone just like them. And I mentioned your process. I know a lot of people are afraid to share their process like it's some kind of secret, but the majority of your customers are not able to do the craft that you do, and they're not able to do it as well as you do. You've been doing it for a number of years, you've perfected your art, but it really adds to that touch. I remember years ago I bought a necklace for a friend as a wedding present, and when that came, the artist also included a little note explaining exactly the method he'd used to create that piece, and that just made it so much extra personal. We were all sitting around when the wedding presents were opened, and my friend actually read out the entire process, and everyone was enthralled listening to the process. It was the lost wax process, so the artist talked about carving out the individual piece from wax. There's small photographs, not of this piece being made, but of other pieces being made, and that just so added to the excitement of this was a proper handmade piece. But also there's the professional side. This can be harder for a lot of people. Be polite to your customers, even if it feels like you're getting hate. Sometimes genuine constructive criticism can feel like hate because you're so deep in your item, you've put so much of your love into it. And if someone gives a slight bit of criticism, especially if you make custom work, it can feel like a total blow. So often I've heard people have taken on a commission and done some custom work, and if the customer said they're not happy with it, immediately they're annoyed and they cancel the order. Whereas I've found sometimes it can just be the tiniest things. Obviously I'm making custom sculptures of people's pets, and sometimes when you finished a sculpture it can be what you feel is your best work, but when you get back to the customer they're not happy with it. And yes, this does feel like a blow, but if you're polite and you actually ask them what changes you can make, it might be a slight thing. For example, if the tilt of an ear is slightly out that makes that dog, then this is just something that won't necessarily take me long to fix, and it'll take an unhappy customer to a delighted return customer. So take a step back and don't take it so personally if someone requests a change. It really should go without saying, but meet your deadlines. So try and make sure your deadlines are realistic. It doesn't make sense if something takes you 5 days to make and you say you'll ship it in 2 days just because you're wanting to encourage the customers. Better to say you'll ship it in 7 days, under promise and over deliver. That gives you a little wiggle room rather than be constantly late all the time. Then customers are going to get cross with you. Obviously be professional with your product. Yes, of course you're an artist hand making your item, so there's going to be handmade touches, small imperfections, or even, for example, your fingerprints if you're working in clay. These are features. However, don't cut corners and make your item rubbish. Don't package it terribly so it gets damaged. Be professional in packaging and creating your items. And also your excuses. Yes, life gets in the way and sometimes things happen. We've all heard people have terrible things, they have illnesses. So if something catastrophic's happened, let your customer know in good time and as much detail as they need to know. But they don't need your entire life story. They don't need to know you're struggling a bit because you have 5 kids. That's not their problem. You might want to know know you're struggling a bit because one of your 5 kids was rushed to hospital. That's a detail that might help them be more understanding, but don't just make up excuses. And then there's that point in between, the bits where we've got to be a little bit personal but a little bit professional. For example, in messaging, when you're contacting your customers, we don't have to be business formal with "Dear Sir, Madam, yours sincerely." You're an artist, they don't expect that. But at the same time, we don't want to be too personal either. You don't want to be using trendy slang words that they might not know, or worse still, curse words. So keep the tone of your messages to something similar you might be comfortable sending to an elderly aunt. And as I mentioned in the last step, those little handmade imperfections. Yes, we don't want our items so perfect they look like they're made by a machine, because that's not what we are. We are handmade, and that's awesome. So I hope that helped. Don't forget, click on my wee face to subscribe, check out the video that YouTube thinks you want to watch, and come back every Monday for more videos like this. Thank you so much.